Sorry, I don't usually like to start meetings late, but I had a different meeting right before this, and so I'm kind of trying to be two places in one. But here we go. So there you are. Yep, I got my agenda. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. We gotta do roll call.
Are you using the mics?
All right.
Are the mics on, guys?
Do they have to be?
Doesn't sound like it.
The green, it's
Yeah.
green.
Oh,
Sounds
it's
like
working.
it.
There it went.
That wasn't close enough, I guess.
Alright. Roll call. Weaver,
Here.
Vogel, here. Coles,
Here.
Epley, here. Price.
Here.
All right.
Okay. So, the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was a couple months ago, May 27th, and we're going to approve June 24th.
I'll move that both the minutes be approved as presented. Support.
Does anybody have any discussion or amendments? Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. All right. Do we have any public comment not related to the items on today's agenda?
The visitors could be introduced,
Ooh, that's a great idea.
you know?
Yeah, I can do that. So we have Brian Farkas with Alan Edwin Homes and Jared Lutz, also with Alan Edwin. And they can go over the information. I have it up, or we can use our Brownfield consultant, kind of however the board would like to proceed. We don't vote on anything tonight. It's kind of more of just discussion and go over their application, and then they would bring it back for a more formal
Michelle,
decision.
can you do these two, please? They don't know these people.
Sorry.
This board doesn't know these people.
This is Todd Richter with Fleece and Vanderbrink. He does most of our engineering in the city when we have projects come through. And then Sam Mary is with Fleece and Vanderbrink too, and she works on brownfields.
No offense to you two, but where's Trevor?
Was supposed to be here and fell ill this morning, so.
What's going on? I think we're all kind of in danger.
Sam has been working with Trevor on a lot, and so even though she's new to the board, I've been corresponding with her on the project as well. So she's up to date and ready to move forward with us tonight.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yep.
All right, let's light right in it.
So it's up to you. Do you want Alan Edwin to start with the presentation on what they're asking and go over their application?
I think so, unless you guys have any initial questions before we get going.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Right. Sure. Hi,
Go
everybody.
to the
Oh, I'm sorry.
thing, we record, that's why.
Understood.
Spreadsheet
Green
is,
lights are on, don't say anything you don't wanna. The green lights are on.
yeah. So your application is further down. If you wanna scroll down, and then also your Excel spreadsheet there is on the screen.
Perfect. Where can I minimize here?
Bottom right.
There we go. Are we on? Can you hear me? Is it coming through? It is coming through the speaker? Yep. Okay, awesome. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jared Lutz. I am with Michigan Growth Advisors. For context, I work closely with Brian and the Alan Edwin team. We are, Michigan Growth Advisors is an economic development incentive consulting practice. So we spend a lot of time drafting brownfield plans, modeling these TIF tables, compiling these applications that are in front of you today. Sam and I've worked with Trevor as well, but Sam and I have worked on many projects together in different municipalities across the state. And a couple of those have been projects with Alan Edwin and Brian Farkas as well. So This project in particular it contemplates 54 residential units. All of these would be single-family homes. There's a mix of bedroom types. I don't think that's officially firmly finalized yet, but the kind of site layout here is for those 54 lots. All of them would be in excess of 3 bedrooms, right? Typically, mostly 4-bedroom homes, all with a garage, all with their own driveway. And right now, the TIP projection that you see contemplates a 2-year build out, so delivering approximately 27 homes per year. Do we want to get into the phase 1? The big the big dense document that I'm sure Sam's team loves to review. I typically don't love to review them.
Long. So Brian, who is the green people? What is that one?
Redevelopment Ventures, I can go to the podium. Hi, Brian Farkas, Director of Workforce Housing for Allen Edwin Homes. We're a Michigan-based company, about 30 years old. We're based in Portage, Michigan, still family-owned, and we've got several subsidiaries that we buy properties in. Green Development Ventures is one of them. It's just simply a acquisition vehicle for the company, and then we ask that when we buy land and divide it up, it either goes to Copper Bay, is our rental company that we wholly own, or it'll go to the end buyer, Mr. Smith, to purchase the house. So Green Development Ventures is just one of the holding companies we have in our family of companies, so to speak.
But you'll use the Allen Edwin name on everything you publish and everything you put out.
Yeah, there'll be 2 brand names that you'll hear with Allen Edwin Homes. Allen Edwin Homes is the mothership, the main brand. It's on our clothing. It's on some of our trucks. And that's the retail mothership. So we're going to build this year probably just over 1,000 homes. I'd say close to 85% of them will be sold at market rate. So you want to buy a house, we finish it, you buy it. The other 15% is going to be split kind of into 2 buckets. One is workforce housing, and that's usually under the brand Copper Bay. So Copper Bay is our rental entity, and we manage probably 800 to 900 homes under that rental entity. And so that's where our workforce housing, most of our units fall under that. And it's got its own website, and you can walk through floor plans and see the houses we build.
Brian?
Yep.
Before I dive too deeply in, has this authority seen a housing TIF project before?
No, it's our first one.
First one, okay. Has Trevor or Sam given kind of a 30,000-foot overview of the changes? Yeah, so you're all aware about the changes. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so as a reminder here, now with the legislation amendment in 2023, housing property, all housing property across the state is eligible property. So when we used to talk about eligible property, it was your blighted properties, your functionally obsolete buildings, your glowing green contaminated former gas stations. Now housing property is, and there's a question of how does housing fit into that bucket. Well, the state went through and did their own statewide housing plan, which identified 115,000 new homes were required to meet demand in the next 5 years. So they wanted a vehicle to support that at the state level, and this tool already existed, so that's why we're here today. So the eligible activities, well, let's go to this. So as a piece of the housing development property, some proportion of the housing property needs to be what's called workforce housing or affordable housing. And those houses are income restricted to households, household rents at or below 120% of area median income. And this is your relatively convoluted table that goes over that calculation. So this project, in the blue here, you can see 6 homes are what we're proposing to be income restricted. So it's a little north of 10% of the development will be reserved to those rental properties for individuals making at or below 120% of area median income. The project rent over here, yep, that highlight shown up, is 100% of area median income net of utilities. So what that is saying is for this county, there is a, here we go, a 4-bedroom home can afford to pay about $2,400 total. So your median household at 100% AMI can afford to pay about $2,400 a month in rent. And that's inclusive of everything. That's your rent, your gas, your electric bill, your sewer and water bill. So from that, we deduct a utility allowance, and this is a state of Michigan calculation for this county for a 4-bedroom single-family home. So we deduct that utility allowance, and that's how we arrive at what can rent be for that income-restricted individual. And then over here, what you're seeing is a control rent calculation, and that's prescribed by MSHDA.
What are those numbers? I can't see them, sorry.
So MSHDA's calculation that they have set out is taking, essentially deriving 100th percentile rents from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So in this blue highlighted column here, what you're seeing is 40th percentile rents for Mecosta County. And how to get to 100th percentile rents is dividing that number by 0.4.
Can I?
Please.
Are you talking about the 6 homes, the 10%?
Yes.
That's what we're talking about?
That's what we're talking about right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so let me back up one more step. So this complicated table here is really what it's getting at is what's available for reimbursement. What is the eligible activity that's available for reimbursement through tax increment financing? And that table, inclusive of infrastructure and site prep costs, and that housing gap is calculated here. So this table is just only discussing those 6 income restricted units. The balance, I believe, here are going to be for sale product.
Except there's nothing in the agreement that says you can't do more than 6 units. You can't do less, but you could do more. Is that right, Brian? You know, like if you don't sell and you wanna.
So the rental aspect of it, I'll talk up there real quick. So this is what we're projecting with the units that are going to be specifically rent restricted and income restricted. The remainder are going to be offered for sale first, and we hope to sell them first. However, if they don't sell, those can be put to market rate rental.
Market rate, so,
Yep. So
okay.
you've got kind of 3 tranches of properties you think about. You've got your 2 big buckets, rental and owner occupied. In the rental bucket, you're going to have your workforce housing, and that might be it. We might add rental to it if they're not selling at the pace we need to.
So there's 7.
I'll sit here.
Yeah.
You'll be back up. So yes, we're talking about the 6 income restricted rentals, and those rentals will be income restricted, affordable for a duration of 15 years.
And those are the 6 houses that make this possible, this TIF thing.
Correct.
Strictly those 6.
Correct. So
A bunch of hoops for those 6.
you can do, we're getting into the weeds a little bit, but as an aside, you can do infrastructure only housing development without this affordability component. the state carves that out. But, you know, a lot of times communities would like to see a little bit of the development affordable, which is why, you know, that's typically how we start out these conversations, is with a proportion of that eligible.
I could real quick, one thing I want to add that's important to understand, the 6 units might not seem like a lot in terms of delivering affordability, but Jared mentioned earlier, we're going to be building this out in 2 years, about 27 units a year. That's significantly faster than we would normally build a project like this out. We'd probably go 3 to 5 a year and build it out, but because of the way the TIF's structured, we're funding our own incentive by build pace. So you're going to have specific affordability with the 6 units that are income and rent restricted, but then I believe you're going to have general affordability. We're going to be delivering a lot of supply to the market at the same time, and we're going to need to get the market to absorb those units. So we do that by lowering the price. Now, we're able to do that, and we're happy with the margin still because we are getting a 20-year payback or so on the infrastructure. So the way I view TIFs is, you know, some communities might say it's only, you know, 6 units are affordable. This is going to affect the whole property, and then residents moving into this neighborhood are probably going to be moving out of homes that are also lower on the economic ladder. So you're going to be creating affordability elsewhere in town. So I think there's kind of a 3-tranche way to think about affordability and how it interplays with this.
Why don't I just pause there for a second? Are there questions? Is there something in particular that this authority would like me to go over? There's a whole lot of information here. We can cover as much or as little as you'd like, but I want to be respectful of your time and focus on what you would like to see. So please let me know where you'd like me to head next.
Keep moving.
Keep moving?
Thank you.
All right, how much time you guys got?
I have a presentation if you want to do that.
Do you have a,
No, I'm the one that we did for Allegan.
the overview? Yeah,
Yes.
perfect. So we've covered the affordability piece. Now, the question next is, what are those other eligible activities? Just like a normal brownfield, site preparation and infrastructure costs are eligible activities. And this is our estimate on what it's going to cost to build the roads, build the sidewalks, drag sewer and water pipes through that development to serve all these homes, and then grade the site to make them usable for housing development. And at the end of the day, this table right here is the ask to the authority. And again, as you build homes, the taxable value increases, and you're only eligible to capture what's net new on the tax rolls. So this right here is the ask of the authority.
We could also cover, these are projections, and this sets the upper limit of what we can recover, both for the affordability component you just saw and the projections here. We're going to be bidding this out, and we've got contractors that work around the state that we're going to be doing this work, and local contractors as well. As those prices come in, we get the invoices or receipts, and we submit those receipts to the commission, and we only get paid back up to the projections here. So it's in our interest, since we're putting the money out in the first place, we want this to be as low as possible and to get it done at the best cost possible, so we're incentivized to have our pricing be as competitive as possible. So what you see behind us is kind of the upper limit, and we have to kind of show the receipts to get that, both for the rent and the hard cost.
We've seen the result of trying to get low bid on a development that another group did on the west side of town. And they got the price way down, but their infrastructure is terrible. Todd's redoing this, redoing that, so you gotta watch cost containment versus quality.
Yeah, we're first, you're 100% right. You can save a penny.
We got burned.
Yeah, you can do that. And so luckily, we've been in business 30 years. We built over 10,000 homes. A lot of the land we build on now, we develop. So we've got kind of our core group of infrastructure suppliers that we use repeatedly time and time again. And we're a lot of their largest clients, or we're their largest client. So we tend to get the work done in a workmanship manner.
Thank you.
I have a question. Being a member of the Plan Commission, as I understand it, you're gonna use materials that the city requires for the infrastructure. In other words, the pipe and the specifications that the city has, you're gonna supply
Correct.
those. Is that
Correct. It's my understanding we're building these out to be fully in spec with the city roads. So
Okay.
materials, everything would be designed, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I can confirm that before we come back, but that's my understanding as well.
A big table. You probably can't see much of this. Let's zoom in a little bit. So this is ultimately, and again, we're here today for kind of the informational, gather questions, informations, any feedback from you. But ultimately, the next two tables here are going to be what informs a brownfield plan that hopefully we can bring to this board for consideration. Obviously, there's no action being taken today, but should there be action in the future, these are ultimately the tables. And to Brian's point, these are sort of the conservative scenario. So we're showing 2% inflation. The one thing I tell everybody is I am confident in this number, but I guarantee you that it'll be wrong, this table. Inflation's not going to be 2% perfectly every year for 25 years. It will go up and it will go down. The statewide average over the past 10 years, I believe, is about 2.6. So again, to Brian's point on, wanting to come in lower on eligible activities, we're also showing a relatively conservative estimate here in this table.
I'm trying to think bothers the city manager and I. This is the huge long one, huh? Why?
Because the available, and again, back to that eligible activities table that we discussed, this balance here, it takes a long time for that to be reimbursed. So this line item here is what's available for capture. As you build those homes and taxes go up, that is what's available to be reimbursed every year. Because there's such a high cost of delivering the affordable units and the infrastructure, reimbursing the city back and the developer back, it takes a long time to pay down that balance.
We're at the tail end of that.
So in this plan, so we had a discussion with Mark and the mayor 2 weeks ago, last week, yeah. And so there has been a revision to this table.
I saw the 2 million
that
still.
shows 1 million and a proportionate reimbursement. So instead of the city waiting at the end to get reimbursed, they're getting reimbursed proportionately throughout the duration of the plan.
So that has been changed.
Correct. Yep. So I believe the deal points that were changed was this was reduced from 2 million to 1 million, and these costs are now being proportionately reimbursed. So down here, instead of 126 going to the developer, it should be somewhere in the neighborhood of 80,000 to developer, 40,000 to the city.
The other thing I'm gonna bring up, you guys care if I talk? Mark and I talk about this every day.
Which page are you on? Would help me. Are you on the projected cash flow page?
I'm sorry, this is the reimbursement schedule table. It is probably the table after your TIF capture table.
I have on the PDF. Oh my god, I have the PDF.
Where was it?
It's a lot of print material, sorry folks.
Like this.
Yep, that one looks like,
This one?
that's the one, Tim, yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Emily, can I ask a question?
Do it. It's your birthday.
You know, we're pretty green at this, but we have people we talk to who say, why in the world would the city ever give a penny to this? It's the developer, it's their money, why are you giving them $1 million? You shouldn't be giving them anything. You should, I wonder what both of you guys say to that.
I can jump in on that real quick.
Yeah,
Just for the record, when we initially purchased this land or have it under agreement from the Housing Commission, we had plans to yield about 70 units on this property, right? In conversations with city administration and management, they asked instead of be more palatable for the community if we dropped it to the current count of 52. As a developer and someone, making sure the project pencils out, we had concerns about the viability. The city stepped up with an offer to help fund the infrastructure and get repaid for it. And so we accepted their offer and negotiated that down to say, okay, we'll reduce our yield from 70 or so units to the 54 right now. And that's how the city ended up contributing to this deal. So we go to communities and every deal looks different, every deal is negotiated differently. Some cities fund all the infrastructure and we come in and build on it. Some use grants and things like that. So this is just one of those unique deal pieces for up here.
And there's a built-in repayment mechanism for the upfront costs that the city is assisting with through the development and the taxes generated from that.
Takes decades.
It's gonna take less once I see the proportionality.
When the old plan, it was 19 years before we saw any money.
Tim has a
I think
question.
that's true.
Yes.
It's
I have a
19.
question.
Please.
So I understand, how much is the city writing a check for, finish the statement for this project?
That has to be negotiated what it's for, but our thought was from these people that it'll be to aid the city's infrastructure out there where they could hook in. About $1 million worth. Is that right?
Yes.
So that.
Some of those lines aren't big enough, we're gonna make them bigger and bring them out there, et cetera, et cetera.
Water sewer upgrades to support
Yes.
the housing
To
development.
support
so
the
you
development.
can tie in, so the developer can tie into those.
Right. That's what,
The city will be reimbursed for all
yes,
those
but
expenses.
not for many, many, many years.
So it's, okay. So how are you gonna get $1 million? You're just gonna write them a check, or how does that work?
Well, we can fund out of both the water fund and the wastewater fund.
Okay.
And we got quite a lot of money, well, don't tell Marcus that. We have some money in those that we may be able to utilize.
And it's a 20-year payback.
It's a long time from now.
I believe it is 19 to 20 years in the, do you have the sheet I emailed you up?
Yes.
And then how does that help the Brownfield authority in the future?
So just from a general perspective as to how this will impact the community, if we're speaking specifically to water and sewer, you're going to have new water and sewer customers come online. And what the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority receives from supporting a project of this is your administrative capture, so that 10% over the life of the plan, plus after the developer and the city have been repaid, the remaining 5 years go to fund the local Brownfield revolving fund, which can generate, in this instance, I think over $1 million. So you can use that $1 million to create a revolving loan fund program, do environmental assessments, structure that as an additional incentive program to spur more development throughout the community.
So the city's repaid their $1 million, and the authority receives another $1 million for future projects. Did I hear that right?
That is correct. These estimates show $1.7 million to the local Brownfield revolving fund.
At the end of 20 years, those are the estimates, right?
Correct.
Is that what I hear?
Our administrator isn't here. He's looking at doing something that would reduce that $1 million down to a more normal amount. $1 million is a lot, and you can adjust the program to maybe at the end of that have $500,000 or $250,000 instead of the whole $1 million. Predicting 20 years from now is pretty tough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
it's.
You can rewrite it. I mean, for our side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also to talk about the benefit to the community, going this period without taxes is a while. But there are, Jared, where's the millages on here?
Scroll up one more.
Up this way?
Your Excel sheet is at the bottom, like your actually Excel tabs.
Oh, okay, right there?
Yeah,
All right,
that's easier.
I'm right here right now. So the millages, we've come all this way. So the millages you see here, we're not capturing the school debt millage. So the local schools are gonna immediately have a positive impact on this plan, right? The 50-some odd houses, they're gonna pay taxes on the school debt millage. That's gonna make it easier to pay back the debt millage. In addition, we're not building 1-bedroom apartments. We're building 3, 4, and 5-bedroom homes, which are likely to attract families. Those families are likely gonna bring kids. Those kids are gonna go to the public schools. It's gonna trigger the school aid fund. So the per pupil sharing from the state is gonna be immediately infused into this deal as well. In addition to what Sam mentioned, the $1 million the city's contributing is likely coming from the water and sewer fund. You're gonna have 55 or 54 plus new families that are gonna be paying into the water bills and the water system and things like that. So right now, think of it as the land is contributing nothing to Big Rapids, absolutely nothing. The city's gonna contribute $1 million, we're gonna put a couple million into this deal. It's gonna start generating tax revenue. We're gonna capture that for a period of time. The city's gonna recapture a portion of that for a period of time. The school debt millage is gonna be hit full front with all the tax revenue that's owed to it. You're gonna have more residents shopping downtown and going to local businesses. You're gonna have schools with more families in it.
The school. State part of the school tax.
So,
That's kind of a school tax question that I had a little question.
yeah, so I'm try to not get in the weeds, but it's hard to not get in the weeds on things.
The reason I bring it up is
yeah.
that the city should be seeking the support of the school system because it's a huge benefit to them to
Absolutely.
do this project. They just get cash. Right?
Yeah, so as to what Brian said, the more students in the schools, the more impact that is going to have on the per pupil funding. This plan does contemplate the capture of state taxes, so our state education tax and school operating tax, but all of that money goes and flows up to.
So both are gonna come.
Correct.
It's like that, Brian?
For Brownfield plans, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that comes from the state portion, not the local portion of
Correct.
the school portion, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mechanically here, what's happening is, should this authority ask us to move forward, we would draft a brownfield plan. And should you choose to approve that, it would then go to city commission. And then that would authorize the local capture. And then after that, we would draft a work plan and send it up to MISHDA to authorize the state tax capture. But again, the school taxes go up into the school education fund, which is a big pot of money, and the per pupil funding to the school district is not impacted or reduced by the creation of this plan.
So say that beginning part one more time, how it works, the timeline.
The approval schedule?
The
the
first part of it.
The brownfield, we would draft a brownfield plan, which is
We had something
basically.
before that though.
What's that?
We had something before that though. We have to do something first before you draft that plan. What did you say? What
I'm
were your
sorry,
words?
just this discussion.
Okay.
You just,
Oh, I
if
see,
you,
I see, I see.
essentially give us heads nodding yes, saying, yep,
Gotcha.
we would like to consider a plan.
Gotcha.
So if we get heads nodding yes, then we'll draft a plan,
Okay.
send it to Sam and team for review.
Okay.
That's when we bargain with you about how big the sewer line is and how big the storm sewer is, et cetera, right? In
Yeah,
that plan?
you don't wanna bargain with me.
No, I mean,
Bargain with-
Todd will represent us, but that's when the
Maybe
real
we do
rubber
wanna
hits the
bargain
road.
with them.
I'm-
We're not involved in that negotiation, that's all administration, right?
That's Mark, yeah.
Good.
I think that's right.
Yes.
Yep.
But you have to approve the concept so they can start.
I'm all for it.
It costs a lot more money to do the next phase. These were all just kind of.
That still costs a lot of money.
Maybe.
Excuse me, I'm not a Brownfield person, so I'm a little lost in the whole situation. Would it help if we just kind of did a, just what to expect,
Yeah,
where
it's
we're at now, and just kind of walk through how this comes together? Or are you guys?
We know less about it than you, I think. So,
Okay.
yes.
We'll swap out.
Sam, do you want to go
Did
ahead?
it twice, but it takes a lot.
Yeah.
But this is our first
This is the first
plan,
time
we're seeing it in action now. It's one thing to talk about a plan, you know, in theory, it's another to have your first plan come before you.
And to be honest, the spreadsheets are overwhelming with all
Yeah.
the numbers
What?
and
Come on.
sizes, and so.
I'm gonna scroll down, so, good evening, everyone. Sam Marias, I'm the Economic Development Manager with Fleece and Vandenbrink. Standing in for Trevor tonight, as Jared mentioned, I work with Alan Edwin and Michigan Growth Advisors all across the state of Michigan. I think right now we've got 7 projects all across the state going together, so we do. All right, sorry. We'll get there. So in our role as your Brownfield consultants, we review the incoming application to make sure it is abiding by the policies and procedures in which you've approved. So we went through the application, we have the purchase agreement, preliminary site plan, all of the eligible activity estimates, the project pro forma, the TIF tables, which are the fun spreadsheets that we all see, and then the phase 1 environmental site assessment. I won't go into the overview of the details of the project as Jared and Brian have, but I do want to talk a little bit about that MSHDA control rent affordability piece. So just high level, MSHDA publishes a control rent on an annual basis, and that control rent is based on the area median income broken out by county for studio up to, I think it's 5 bedrooms. And then we look at what the project rent is. In this case, we're anticipating $1,914 is going to be the project rent for these 6 income restricted units. So when it comes down to compliance for the BRA and for these 6 income restricted units, we would look at, all right, what is the 2025 MSHDA published control rent? What is the rental roll? So we would request a rental roll for those income restricted units from Alan Edwin. Make sure that it's all in alignment with what was approved in the plan, and that delta between the control rent and the project rent is what is eligible to be reimbursed to them. So I did include kind of another discussion about the changes to the legislation, opening up housing, opening up the financing gap as an eligible activity, just because it is so new. It's a completely different thing. We just went to the Brownfields conference in Chicago, and it's difficult to talk to other states about what Michigan has because it's so unique. And a lot of folks are like, hey, we have a housing shortage too. So I had a couple conversations actually with the state of Ohio today about how we can bring those programs there. So just to go over the eligible activities quickly, EGLE pre-approved activities, so that is for environmental site assessments, so for that phase 1. We've got $3.1 million of infrastructure, $600,000 in site prep, the financing gap, so that is the projected project rent gap from those 6 units over the affordability period for 15 years. We have the costs associated with preparing and implementing the Brownfield plan, a 15% contingency. That contingency is applied only to infrastructure and site prep, not to the financing gap piece, and then a 5% interest request at $967,000. And I know the tables have changed a bit since we've reduced what the city is putting in for infrastructure. In my recommendations, I do want to go to the payments to the state revolving fund. So per statute, 3 of the 6 mills from the state education tax get reimbursed to fund the state revolving fund. So $727,000 will be going back to the state of Michigan if everything works out as projected in these plans. The Big Rapids BRA will collect $838,000, then that $1.7 million number is for the local Brownfield revolving fund. Again, we don't know what's gonna happen 20 years out. The BRA 20 years from now may only wanna capture 2 years of the local Brownfield revolving fund, but we always wanna show that in a Brownfield plan because that really is the local advantage for supporting these types of projects in addition to the new residents and the new housing stock throughout the community. So right now, the base value of that property is $30,900. That base value is set in the year in which a plan is approved, and the authority captures 100% of the available increment to reimburse the entities that are involved. I do want to talk a little bit about kind of the next steps and procedure, since it's our first plan. So tonight, we're here discussing the plan in concept with you. It would be my recommendation that we have some further items identified in the Brownfield plan as to what the city cost is going to support and outline that in the plan. So the next step would be the developer and Michigan Growth Advisors preparing a Brownfield plan with the refined numbers to bring back before the BRA for formal consideration. After the BRA has made a recommendation on that plan, it will go to the county or the city board of commissioners to review, and they will hold a public hearing where they'll consider a resolution of approval for that plan. Now, a plan is a plan. We still need the mechanism in place that actually binds the reimbursement procedures. So during the time the Brownfield plan is being drafted, we're working with the development team and the city to draft out a reimbursement agreement. And the reimbursement agreement is the legally binding mechanism that says, all right, the first 10% of local capture is going to go to Brownfield administration. And then I think if we settled on 60% of the capture on an annual basis is going to go to Allen Edwin Homes, and then 40% of that is going to go to the city, up to $1 million. So the reimbursement agreement is negotiated and figured out at the same time we're drafting that plan. Now, per your policies and procedures, that does not have to come back before you for approval, but that's definitely something we would, at least present to you in your packet for you to review. And then after the Brownfield plan is approved and after the reimbursement agreement is executed, that's at such time when the developer can submit an Act 381 work plan. As mentioned, the Brownfield plan is your not to exceed maximum amount. I think we're just under $7 million in this plan. So that is the not to exceed amount that can be reimbursed and can be approved by the state. So an Act 381 work plan authorizes use of the 24 state mills, so the 18 school operating and the 6 state education tax. The Brownfield plan is your local approval, and the work plan is your state approval. Per your policies and procedures, you will, once the Act 381 work plan is ready, they'll submit it to the city administratively, and then we would review, make sure that everything is in line with what was approved in the plan. Nothing is more. The numbers may adjust bucket categories based on conversations with MISTA. We may adjust site prep and infrastructure numbers a bit. I wouldn't expect that to happen much in this instance. Oftentimes, the work plan numbers change more when we're working on an environmental Act 381 work plan. Housing is a lot more straightforward than working with Eagle. So that work plan will then be transmitted to MISTA. Statutorily, they have 60 days to review that plan, and once approved, and the Brownfield plan and reimbursement agreement are included as an attachment to the work plan. So really a work plan is an extremely detailed Brownfield plan. So take what's in the Brownfield plan and add, linear feet of infrastructure installed. So just a lot more detail goes into that. And then at that point, once the state has approved that, then the plan is fully approved. We work with your city and finance team to make sure that everything is set up in BS&A correctly. And then once the developer incurs costs, as Brian mentioned, they'll submit invoices based on what's outlined in the reimbursement agreement. They'll submit those invoices and make a request for reimbursement. Sometimes these requests may come in once all of the infrastructure is complete. Sometimes it's 1 or 2 requests, just depending on the project financing. My assumption would be we'd probably be 1 or 2 reimbursement requests in this case, just based on the level of complexity. So those come in, we review those. We make sure that they align with what was approved in the plan. We make sure we have lien waivers, proof of payment, all of the supporting documentation, and then we would bring this BRA board a recommendation for certifying those costs. And again, that cannot exceed what's been approved in the Brownfield plan. If there's some places that deviate, again, in this case, we're working with site prep and infrastructure. We don't see many deviations. On the environmental side, we may have a project that has an estimated cost for asbestos of $800,000 and ends up being $1 million. So we can allow for that adjustment, just so long as we're not going over that fully approved number. And so really, there's a check and balance and a safeguard here with the public funds that are being, reserved to reimburse the developer for these costs. So we make sure we go through all of that. And even though, say we certify $1 million in eligible activities, the developer can still only be reimbursed the TIF that is available on an annual basis. So we're not giving any more than we have, we're not giving any more than the development has self-generated itself. Any questions? I know we threw a ton at you tonight.
Sam, if I can put it, so I can get it straight.
Yes.
Right now, we have a draft Brownfield plan.
No, not yet. We just have our draft TIF tables, which guide our Brownfield plan, but yes.
So the next step is to develop, the developer will come back with that Brownfield plan.
Correct.
We're looking at a total project capture of about $7 million.
Correct.
And then, once that plan is submitted, this board has a chance to review that and then sign off on that plan. Then it goes back and we go through the cost tables again and come up with a repayment or reimbursement plan, or
We won't need to go necessarily back through the tables again. The tables will guide what's going to be put into the reimbursement agreement.
reimbursement agreement
Yeah.
is the word I'm looking
Correct.
for. So then that also goes forward to the state, which will review it and sign off on the total thing through the work plan.
Correct. Yep. And there is a 10-day public hearing notice that needs to be published prior to the city commission meeting, and, we assist in drafting all of those resolutions for BRA and for city commission, as well as the public hearing notices for the city clerk. Try and make everyone's life as easy as possible with something that's extremely complicated and complex.
Go for it, Ted. I'm ready.
We're having disagreements on, does the city need an attorney, like we use Michael Myers, to review your work and make sure it's all legal? And some people say, no, you don't need that, they're gonna have it exactly. And then Michael Myers says, yes, our TIF guy should be looking at your papers when that time comes. What's the deal?
Typically, how I handle things is because I'm a little bit cheaper than an attorney, is I will draft the template of the reimbursement agreement, and then it goes to the city attorney for.
And you will recommend that at that point?
I
Mark
would.
wanted to know that.
Yep, we
That
usually
comes.
draft it out, make sure the attorney's reviewed it, then we'll send it to the developer and team. They'll review it, and then typically beyond that first draft, then I'm out. Save you money up front, but when we get into the legal minutia, between the attorney.
Do a first draft.
First draft.
How
Yeah.
long will that take to draft the first draft, to get that to us?
I can do them in a day.
I don't know if you.
We just heard a lot tonight. We're not ready for a day. We need,
I say that please don't ask me to do it in a day right now.
oh wow, one day.
But once we've got the Brownfield plan approved from the BRA, at that point we would start fleshing that out. And there's nothing statutorily binding to when that has to occur. I've had some reimbursement agreements that we as a BRA realized, oh my goodness, we never did that. And we did them a year later, so we won't let that happen.
Okay, we don't want a year, but a day is.
It was another city, a previous career. It's all good.
The public hearing, what are those people going to be concerned about? Your layout of the plan? That's what we usually, or what are we after in the public hearing?
The public hearing is supposed to be for hearing from the taxing jurisdictions about the impact of the Brownfield plan.
Yeah, but they don't know.
However, I have never had a taxing jurisdiction come out and say anything about a Brownfield plan. Oftentimes, it's going to be your residents that are already intrigued in the project.
They want a fence, you know.
They want to know, these lots are too small, why would anyone buy it? But they're going to ask more project details. I would say 1 out of every 10 asks a Brownfield specific question. And I think that's generous.
So at
1
the
out of
hearing,
10.
you'll be there or somebody?
Absolutely, yeah. Yep.
If I could just say one thing that makes us very comfortable as the developer is we're obviously advocating for our case. Cities that hire F&V and SAM specifically, they're your advocates and they're reviewing the tables and tables and tables of stuff. We have, I think, 20 deals that we've done in the state. You guys have represented the cities in about 10 of them.
Yeah.
And so it's, they represent your interest and our work is open and we share it with them, we share our tables with them, so it's an open book. But they're here for your protection.
Tim?
Now, the public hearing is on the Brownfield plan. The actual engineering and the site development goes through your normal process.
It's got two,
They
Yeah.
did planning commission already.
Now we're just on construction plans.
So this has been through planning commission already?
Yes.
Okay, I do wanna make like one broad note, is that there's nothing that stipulates that a plan has to go before planning commission, before going to BRA, or vice versa. Sometimes lending may be imperative on having incentives approved, therefore the BRA may see a plan prior to there being a site plan, because they're trying to get lending to complete their site plan and move through that process. So that's like an aside in general to how brownfields may come before you in the future, but if we're already through planning commission, there's nothing to worry about. Oh, I lost my screen. Nothing to worry about there. But I do get asked that question often. Well, our planning commission hasn't seen this. Why is it before us? Well, oftentimes it is because the lending is reliant upon approval from the BRA. And again, if there's no money if a plan is approved and the project doesn't happen, then we make a determination as to whether we're going to abolish that plan or terminate that plan. If there's no money that exchange hands, there's no issues there. I've had plans that have had developers change hands 3 or 4 different times just based on economics that was coming out of 2008, but it can happen.
Well, if the city can afford it, it seems like a good opportunity. And I guess we're looking at you to tell us that.
And
I
that's
think
what
we did, but
Michelle, our,
What did you say, Michelle?
I said we're working through it.
for sure in the long run, if the houses get built, we're gold. Now, if they happen to pull out before anything's built and we spend $1 million to help get the infrastructure there, we're not gonna do very well.
and there's personal relationships there that will prevent that from happening.
I think that's the only downside, right? If you guys walked, did a few,
Yeah, and we can provide letters of credit. We're the state's largest home builder.
well, I'm
It's-
just saying, that's the only downside for
True.
us jumping in with our,
And
you ever use bonds to cover that?
we're talking about it.
yeah, that is an option.
Technically, our ordinance has bonds that we can trigger on to do them.
Might be a blend, Tim.
You saw earlier in the program, our investment's about $18 million. And a lot of that is in the ground on site. And so once we're in, we're in. It's our incentive to build this out as fast as possible and as beautifully as possible.
I will say, I'm in the market for a rental myself, and I called Brian a few days ago, and he's like, just go look on our website, and I did, and they're renting so fast. I think some of the ones in Creek Point were rented prior to them actually being completed, so I just wanted to give a little personal testimony to the desirability of the homes that they're creating, and they go fast.
The other projects that you've done, do you find that you need to rent them? because they're not selling? I mean, how does that work current?
Yeah, so this law is brand new. Our first projects are just going vertical. And so Hillsdale is the first one that is a 20% workforce housing, 80% for sale first, and we're still doing the underground infrastructure, getting it, prepped and ready to build on it. We're doing East Bay Township, we've got 170 going in. We're doing about 8 a month, and that was approved in October. We broke ground the next day, and the first home should be open for a rental office in October. So 1 year from approval to that. So we've got, just some background on the company, one of the things we pride ourselves on is we've tried to remove as much waste from the building process as possible. So all of our homes, you'll see a little QR code on the front of them, and we dispatch all of our trades by the QR code, and so we can design the build process to be complete in about 6 months, from breaking ground to finishing it, because the plumbers go in at the right time, the electricians go in at the right time, everyone takes pictures before and after their job, they're paid through the app that we developed internally, and so once we kind of turn the switch on, it's going to be all systems go to get this built out. It's going to be staggering to see.
I think with this too, there are safeguards built in place with the different opportunities. If the market rate ones aren't going, then you have the ability to flip that. All right, let's go rental.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that happening in most markets that I work in right now. There's such a significant demand for housing, and what was considered affordable 10 years ago is vastly different from today. So they go fast.
Properties that you rent, are they, you have a rental company that
Yeah, great
manages
questions.
those properties?
So you can go to copperbay.com, is our wholly owned subsidiary, it's just a different brand, but it's basically the exact same house we would build to sell. We do a slightly different finish on the wall, more of a texture than a flat drywall. But the hardware, the fixtures, everything is the same high quality we put in our $600,000 homes.
These all have basements, right?
I think these will all have basements, yeah. We can do basement or slab, but I think these all have basements.
One point I wanted to follow up with on Brian, so, there's different housing tools, like a low-income housing tax credit. What's unique about this is low-income housing tax credits, you have to say, these 16 homes or these 16 units in this corner is the low-income housing. What's really unique and nice about this program is they're completely indistinguishable, so that lower income renter, you're never going to be able to pick them out in this development, whether it's a low income renter.
It's not low
or a
income.
market-
It's
I'm sorry.
missing middle.
Missing middle, workforce housing, rental.
Yeah.
I know. The missing middle, renter or a market rate renter or a market rate purchaser, they're all interspersed.
Yep, that's a great point. You drive down one of our streets that have workforce housing, you won't be able to tell a difference from a workforce housing unit to a house that's sold for $450.
There's not a lot of people in this town that can afford a $450,000 home.
Give or take.
And the people who can, I don't know if they're gonna wanna live on top of each other like that. I guess that's in my mind what's going around as far as buying that home.
Yeah. The 450s, misspoke. We're not projecting those to be
He was saying just in general.
in general.
And I think that to that point, though, that is one of the more significant reasons for the changes with housing TIF is because typically that infrastructure cost would be passed off to the consumer purchasing the house. And in supporting a project that has housing TIF, we don't have to price the house higher just because of the cost of infrastructure. So aggregate that, almost $4 million number over the 54 homes in there. Without this incentive, that would be passed off to the consumer, and this allows the prices to be more in line with affordable components.
And at the presentation to City Council, or even the next presentation here, we've got internal market data that we use to make bets all over the Midwest on where we build and how we price, and it pulls in everything based on income bands of 20,000. We can tell how many months supply each income band has, and then we can see what size home in that income band we're competing with and what year those homes were built. And so we make bets based on that internal technology and data. And so we're very confident about the bet here in Big Rapids.
just for context on this deal in particular, the infrastructure and site prep number is $4.3 million, and so that's $80,000 a home, which really helps push down even the. Yes, we're here talking about workforce housing in particular, but the program allows us to push purchase prices on market rates different from what we'd be able to otherwise. Yeah. And build faster because there's quite literally an incentive to build faster. If we don't create this taxable value, there is no reimbursement to be had. So you want to build at a higher build pace than you otherwise would.
So did I miss it? What is the range that you're hoping to sell these homes for?
I think the projection on the table is around 350 or less.
I think so.
We have a
355 is what the pro forma shows.
Yeah, 355. So if you take out the $80,000 infrastructure incentive, we're over 400,000, which, Emily, to your point, they're not gonna sell at that rate.
Right. Any other questions, guys? You're literally looking for a nod
What we're
from
gonna do
us
at the
to,
next
like,
meeting is we're
go.
gonna make those tables into like a fun narrative for you.
Oh, good.
It's a little, I find that to be the hardest part. I can do a tip table, but then I have to write about it. I'm like, oh no, I gotta put words to my numbers and numbers to my words. So, you know,
Until the plan's done, there's still not a go-ahead. The plan has to be looked at and approved by the city, the commission, right?
the next step will be back here with the
Back here and
Brownfield
then-
plan, yeah, but we'll work with the city and the developer to make sure that we've got everything refined from what, the city dollars are going to, as well as, developer, and make sure that that is clear and concise and laid out in the plan, and then bring that for you for your consideration.
I think, our goal here today was, one, a high-level overview of the changes, so thank you, Sam, and two, what this project is. It's a big lift for the development team to draft this document. So typically, we want to meet with the board prior to see whether they would be willing to consider a plan prior to incurring that cost and spending that time on drafting it and working with Sam's team. So that was our goal here today, to see if this authority would be willing to consider, and if so, we will get that prepared and start working with the city's team and Sam on it.
Do we have to vote on that, or do we just, yes?
The only thing we didn't talk about was that interest percent.
Yes, so in the plan,
Didn't bring it up because Parkus was being a pain with that interest.
so,
4%?
Yeah.
so
I'm gonna see what she says.
interest is something that is negligible per each plan. In your policies and procedures, you determine interest on a case-by-case basis. The maximum amount is 5%, and what's written in the plan as is 5%, just shy of $1 million. The way interest is calculated in a Brownfield plan is 5% simple interest on the principal outstanding balance of eligible activities. Have I said that a few times? So we look at what the outstanding balance of the eligible activities are for the developer, and 5% over that gets calculated. That usually gets tacked on at the very end for reimbursement. So I haven't seen the updated tables, but as they were originally laid out was developer reimbursement for the housing gap, developer reimbursement for infrastructure, reimbursement for interest, repayment to the city, and then local Brownfield revolving fund capture.
The thing to remember, though, that you guys kind of gloss over is that the reason there's money in the TIF to pay these guys is because somebody else isn't getting it,
Right.
right?
Yep.
So who's not getting it?
The taxing jurisdictions that are waiting for,
Right, so let's
yeah,
run those down. Like
County.
Commission on Aging, county, et cetera.
Correct.
They don't get their money until this thing's all paid out to Alan Edwin. That's where the money comes from. So you and I have to pay all that stuff on our property tax. But that amount of money then goes to Alan Edwin. That's the tax increment financing part. And you kind of forget that when you're going through all this, right?
Right.
I mean, Sam,
Yeah.
isn't that how it goes?
yeah, yep, so that is, It's asking for all the taxing jurisdictions to put a pause on their growth because we believe in, this development and want to see this type of development in our community. Something that we can have a conversation about as to if you believe 5% is the correct amount of interest, if you want to see that reduced to a lesser number, how that would maybe shorten the repayment period, how that looks once we factor in the proportionality calculation.
Those people don't have to vote on this, though. We can just drop that on them, that, oh, by the way, in this development, you aren't getting your commission on aging check, and you're not getting your this, that, right?
You're
They
getting
don't
it just
vote
not
on
from this development.
The county doesn't have to vote or approve any of that.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct, yeah, there's no opt-out for the county, correct?
They can't do that.
There's no,
A state,
State law.
so, yeah,
So that is,
so that's where the money comes from.
what is able to be captured is ad valorem taxes, so special
Say that
assess, ad valorem taxes, so, debt millages and special assessments are not capturable under statute, but,
So the school millage, or for a building.
The debt
school-
millage.
so
debt
your,
millage.
your school building debt
That goes
that goes up. So Sam talked about a 10-day public noticing period. What that is, Sam will draft a public notice saying that the city commission is going to consider a brownfield plan. And those notices have to be sent to everybody on this screen here.
Okay.
So they're all
There
aware.
they are, right there.
And if,
But they're not getting a penny for that land now, so it's really no
Right.
skin off their nose.
we're just
They're not getting a
pausing
penny.
the gratification. So what's always gonna be table 2 in your brownfield plan is going to be the breakdown per taxing jurisdiction. And so this shows the amount that on an annual basis each taxing jurisdiction is foregoing growth. But then as soon as the plan is done, it shows the increase in their taxes.
Just for that 20 acres.
correct.
But as soon as a house is sold, the new owner has to pay all those
Correct.
immediately, right?
Yep,
I mean, it just becomes a normal old house.
Yeah,
yeah.
And that's what our hope would be, and then everybody wins.
That's everybody's hope.
And I do wanna point out that if an individual purchases a home within a project that has a brownfield plan, there's no difference on their tax bills. There's nothing that a homeowner is going to see or notice any differently than you or I paying our taxes on an annual basis. That is another question that comes up. There's nothing different to the homeowner.
and I would also add, the question to ask is, would this project happen but for the TIF?
Oh, we've been asked that.
And it would not.
I mean, you're asked that by just citizens who hear it's going on. At least I'm hearing it already. Why don't we just do it without all this nonsense? Because it won't happen.
You're more than welcome to.
It truly can't be done in this market anymore, no. We're not seeing projects that are self-funded or even individually funded. Oftentimes it is a braid of funds, including additional grant dollars, TIF, so many different other sources, just because the cost of construction is high. And with Brownfield TIF, we can't support any of the vertical construction, but the infrastructure piece is a safe bet because we're gonna pretty well guarantee that project is going to happen if you're gonna spend the money to put the infrastructure in.
So we develop probably 10 neighborhoods a year, and we're seeing our year-over-year increase in underground infrastructure go up by 10% each year. The last 4 years, we've never seen anything like that.
Just in Michigan, where do you guys build?
Primarily Michigan,
Goes up more than that.
northern Indiana, Ohio.
Seems like ours going up more than 10% a year.
So what other questions, have you heard other brownfield authorities ask that we haven't asked that you'd like to respond to?
Well, that's a great question. What other questions have other brownfield authorities asked that we haven't answered? Hillsdale asked where the risk was. And so I think, take out the $1 million, we're once we start building these homes, we're out $18 million. We're out over our skis. So you guys are incentivized for this to work. We're really incentivized for this to work. And we're making that bet based on our internal data and our sales history across the state. Other questions that have been asked?
I often get the question, why here? And we have kind of talked about this
We've been
before,
asked that
but,
one too.
we had a developer who East Grand Rapids, they build a lot of homes. And it doesn't matter really how high build costs go, there's always going to be a market for another $600,000, $700,000 home in East Grand Rapids, right? But as build costs go up in different communities across the state, that market cannot be absorbed at those build costs. So that's why this tool is so important in communities that are not like East Grand Rapids, that are very affluent, very high income earners. That's where this tool becomes quite useful in communities all across the state.
Can I ask
And
a
we've
dumb
got more
question?
questions than this.
My brain went to like the dark ones first. I know I said that one of the, what I had just stated about will a homeowner notice a difference if they're on their tax bills. I think that is something that's really important, that no one knows any differently, that their project wouldn't get done without having this support.
One question we get a lot too is, can we do more homes? And the answer is yes, we can. We've built this subdivision out to be extendable into the other owned land out there, so it's gonna be stubbed, so we're betting on growth in Big Rapids.
Can I ask like a dumb, just like really
There's no such
general
thing.
question?
Yes.
Like all this stuff exists, right? From all these funds and grants and stuff, just to create more affordable housing, right? Is that why? That's why
what
the
Michigan's
government's
all
doing
about.
it,
Yeah,
right? I mean, that's really great, but holy cow, how did it get so complicated? It's
Yeah,
just
there's a-
like,
It's only getting worse.
great. I mean,
there's a graph.
great for you. You seem really.
There's a graph we'll pull together for the presentation that shows percent of income that went to like the percent of a starter home.
Yeah.
You just see it
Yeah.
go like this.
Yeah.
You know, over time. It's crazy to see.
It's a wild fact.
Sam can probably attest to, so I'm under the age of 35. And there are more home purchasers in the past year and a half over the age of 70 than there are under the age of 75.
Until that great wealth transition happens, I don't know.
So
I'm gonna rent forever.
as you talk about state priorities and why are we even talking about this, the state knows that there's a massive housing shortage, and young families can't start. You have one of the best universities here in the state of Michigan. You know, where does the 23-year-old go when they want to start a job and still be in town? They can't go anywhere right now. So
And that,
they leave.
They leave our area.
They have to.
yeah, when I was driving up here, that's what I kept thinking about, was like, this is a great place for students to be able to move into after they graduate. All right, we want to stay here. Even to open up additional housing stock by allowing for that mobility throughout the market. If there is an older couple who has an aging home, wants something that's newer but wants to stay in the community, move here, then that creates an opportunity for a family in another home. You know, I think each day I log into social media and immediately want to just drown myself in bleach. But there's a new statistic posted about how unaffordable everything is.
Yeah.
There was one recently that said like the average income required to get a median priced home in the United States right now is $115,000. I'm like, that's a problem. That's a problem.
I think, you know, as the person who employs 8 people who are trying to make a living at, I mean, a very average rate, and I sit on a bank board here in town, and, you know, we talk about this stuff all the time too, and hopefully by marrying this type of thing with the incentives they have for interest rates and new loan programs for, you know, first-time home buyers
Yeah.
or low-income home buyers, it's the only way it's gonna get done. You know, there's a lot of pressure on
My
them.
big question is, how can they buy a $350,000 home? The old days, you had to have 20% down. You'd have to have
can't.
$70,000
They
cash.
don't.
Well, I
They-
guarantee you,
They don't even think of
nobody
that.
has
They
20%
can't think about
down,
that
or we
anymore.
won't sell one of them.
Yeah.
Our average down payment for pre-solds is 5% down.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was
We're
when I bought my
struggling to
first
get that
house, that's what I put
20%.
down.
21%.
Versus-
It's 21, I think.
I like the price a lot better when I can put down
13% interest.
20%, but
Yes.
I also like having a little bit of cash to live my life, where people don't. And I think too, because this next generation has gotten so used to renting and gotten so used to the idea of renting, the idea of committing 20% down feels like a very significant commitment, and what they rather would keep that money. If we can get in at 5% down, I'm gonna get in at 5% down, because I still wanna live my life, I still wanna have my nest egg, and still go on vacation, so definitely a shift from the 20% down days, yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm glad for the kid, for the young ones.
I think I saw recently like one of the Rocket Mortgage, which I wouldn't recommend anyone do, but 1%, they'll like make up that other 4%. Like, I still recommend that everyone should be able to shake their hand with their mortgage broker, but that's just me. few old school things I have in my pocket.
All right, I mean, do we have to officially vote on
I think just
saying, just go for it?
recommend
Love to see
that
it.
Information.
Yeah,
I think you can just.
No action taken.
yeah, say, yeah.
so we're gonna see it tomorrow, right?
Yes.
How long do we have to, you show us your Brownfield plan, how long do we, there's no limitation for how long we can look at it and talk about it, or do we have a time limit? You guys get it to us, and then we have to
I think
decide.
that's a matter of how long does the board want, so like Jared's gonna prepare a plan, I'm gonna review that plan, we'll likely have a week's worth of back and forth review until I'm like, all right, this is ready to go to the BRA. How long does the BRA want to review that? Because I also wanna think about, we've got to when we set the next agenda, like,
Sure.
I think with this one, you might want a little bit more than a week to take a look at it.
Individually or with you?
You can
We-
always
we-
call me.
I mean, I can look at it all day long, but it's
Hey,
not
but,
gonna
like,
make
it's-
sense
I'm not
without
gonna
you, so
understand it.
it's not gonna make sense for us to review it, I don't think, for myself personally, to have a week to view it by myself. So I would say, once you guys have your communications done together, and we can get on your calendar,
Okay,
so you can talk us through it like we're five.
I can do that.
That's
Your
probably
intent
the
is-
best.
Okay.
Your intent is to bring it to the next meeting?
Is the next meeting next month?
Okay, so we have to talk about that next meeting, because I have a Rocket football game that night, and I really don't wanna miss it, so can we move that meeting?
Look, 2 people missing.
Sorry. The next meeting is supposed to be September 23rd. So I can move it to Monday the 22nd, or
22nd.
yeah, I could. Can anybody do Monday the 22nd? Is Monday a disaster-fee for?
I will be in Tennessee, so yes, the 22nd is a disaster for me.
Disaster. Okay.
Yeah, my brother's
When
getting
do you
married.
get back from Tennessee? Well, I
I'll
mean,
be back that night.
So I mean, do we have to wait a month? Are you guys gonna have this like going like the moment we leave this building?
The 24th and the 25th, there's already public meetings in this room.
Okay.
What about the 29th?
Do we? Okay.
Or
Do you
wait,
think that's too far out? I mean, I'm gonna.
When do you wanna break ground? Marcus,
Next year?
spring?
Yeah.
Hold, like,
Takes us forever to get things through city commission.
so I
You know,
mean,
Takes us 2 months.
Sooner we can get
always.
it, yeah, the sooner we can get it through. I mean, we could start doing some work this season.
what about the 16th? Can anybody meet the 16th of September?
I could do the 16th.
Is that too soon for you, Sam?
There's a meeting in the office.
I think that would be too quick of a
What's the
turnaround,
meeting?
if I'm being honest.
Okay. What about?
Generation.
Was that
Put it on my-
September 29th?
I think either the 29th or the 30th,
There's nothing in here.
because feasibly we could still make October.
Second meeting in
Second
October,
meeting in October? Yeah.
probably.
So what about the 30th of September? Tuesday.
It's late this year.
Yep, we can do that.
October 20th. Shoot for October 20th for city commission and public hearing.
Michelle, are you gonna rain on our parade?
Nope.
We
there's
can all do
nothing
the
in
30th.
office there's nothing here on September 30th.
What about that middle table back there?
Oh, yes, that's good, sorry.
Dad, do you have your calendar on
Tucker
your
likes it.
phone? You're good too. Wait, are you invited to that meeting? What if we want to talk bad about you? I don't know. We want you here. All right. So sorry to do that to everybody, but if we could change September 30th,
6:30?
Yeah, I'll send you
Yes.
an invite.
and it
You got it?
sounds like Sam was going to be really tired for that 23rd anyway. So
6:30?
okay. Does anybody have any last minute thoughts about? Okay. I think we have to have a motion to adjourn.
Now we know what we're presenting.
Okay, all those in favor of leaving? Anyone opposed? No. Thank you. That was, every time more, it makes just the puzzles are coming, oh.
Just wanted to make a little bit more sense
Little-
each time.
Yes.